What you doing?
Ran out of space on my phone, so I'm deleting some stuff. Bye, singing dog. Bye, goal.
I pronounce you.
Bye, wedding ceremony.
Stop. At Metro PCS, you get 2 free phones with twice as much memory.
Really?
Don't say bye to your memories. Switch to Metro PCS and get 2 free LG K20 Plus phones with 32 gigs when you switch 2 lines. Metro PCS. Wireless. Figured out. Coverage not available in some areas. Sales tax not included in phone price. Excludes numbers on the T-Mobile network. See store for details and terms and conditions.
Blog Talk Radio.
Hey, kids, look at that. I actually try to plan the show the right way. I get everything all orchestrated, and then look what happens. And now we're late, and now I really feel bad. Okay, now I have to man up and actually do my job here and do it the right way, hopefully with any luck at all. So I am so mega excited. Not only did I get to talk to my lovely Donna Ross earlier today, but now I get to speak to the even lovelier Deborah Unger. Hopefully she will not repeat the fact that I said she was a bit lovelier. So without further ado, I want to keep her holding on the line. Let's get talking to Deborah.
Hey,
we
Cindy.
found each other.
Yay!
It's Kismet. Hi.
Across
Yay,
the wire.
you're here.
Yes, indeed.
Oh, my gosh. I'm so nervous I can't even stand it. You're a big deal.
Oh, no, I'm not. I'm just a
yes.
stubborn gal who
Yes.
doesn't know the meaning of the word no.
Oh, my gosh. Folks, let me just tell you something. I was in New York City the very first time I met Deborah. I actually went to a couple of different premieres, Networker being one of them, and then I went to Enchantment's Kelsey O'Brien's film, which we should all see if you get a chance. And she just happened to be standing there, and I just thought to myself, she's so lovely, and we got to chatting, and I found out she's an actress. All she needed to say was actress New York City, and I'm like, I'm there. She needs to come on my show. It's as simple as that. And I graciously and very timidly approached her and said, Deborah, would you come on my show? And she's like, yay. And I'm like, yay, this is going to be so much fun. I'm so excited.
Yes.
Okay. Well, there's a lot to talk about here. So I guess I want to start off with from the very beginning, because typically I usually try to go all the way back from the start, and then we go from the beginning all the way towards to who you are right now. I think that who you were originally speaks a great volume to who you are now, if that makes sense to you.
Absolutely.
So I kind of want to start about, I know that you're originally from Philadelphia, so obviously, of course, you're not a native New Yorker, and some of us have our creative / author / whatever instinct when we're young. So I kind of want to find out at what point in your life you decided that you wanted to pursue a career in both acting and writing. And then moreover, some parents, and we've talked about this on the show a lot of times when your parents find out that you want to be a creative, they just drop their jaw to the floor and they think, oh, my God, she'll be broke for life. So talk to me a little bit about where you got to, when you found that inspiration, when you found your passion, and then what was your family's reaction to that?
Well, I'm one of the lucky ones. Even though they did always worry, if I was going to make a living or not, I was supported. Mm-hmm. And actually, my parents paid for my college education, which included 3 degrees and 6 years all in theater. So, I was very, very lucky. They were exceptional folks that way. I think my mother supported me initially just to give me something to do so I'd get out of her hair. And my dad, please, I'm telling you, for true. And thank you, Mom, for doing that. And my dad was, I'm very much a daddy's girl, and he was an extraordinary human being who was kind to everyone, loved a good laugh and a good drink, and actually had the most fabulous singing voice. And when he was a young man, he kind of made a decision and a choice between singing and having a family, and he just didn't think he could have a family the way he wanted to if he went into singing. Mm-hmm. So he went into family instead. But I sang in a church choir with him, for about 8 years, and then when I would be home at Christmas, they'd put me in as the ringer. I'd go to one rehearsal, sing the service, and then they wouldn't see me again for another year. So.
Oh, my
But
gosh.
I got to sing with my dad, and it was so great. I actually just posted, I can't remember, maybe it was for Father's Day. Nothing can bring a smile to my face faster than thinking of singing Christmas in the church, the little drummer boy, and hearing my dad standing behind me going, pum, pummity, pum, pummity, 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 pum, because that was the bass line. And he was so committed and energetic. He didn't know that that's what he was, but that's what he was,
Okay,
So
I gotcha.
I was lucky that there was an appreciation for art and performing, and that they let me do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Very nice. Now, I know some of the people have told me that growing up, obviously, and I'm sure you're no different, you have your certain influences or particular styles of music or things that you listened to growing up that you just had kind of an inclination to lean towards. And has that formulated what you choose to sing nowadays or what you choose to perform? Assuming that you still are performing, because I know that it's mentioned that you are a singer, but I wasn't quite sure at this point in your life if you're concentrated more on acting or if you still do participate in singing.
Well, I haven't performed as a singer for a while. I made a short film about, it started about 4 or 5 years ago. And when I did that, I kind of quit performing as a singer because it took all my time. You know, earning money and making a short film pretty much sucks up the 24 hours that you got in a day.
Right.
But a couple of years ago, I went back and was really interested to find that although I don't have the top notes I had when I was in my 20s, that my voice has actually expanded. And it's not my top priority, but I'm looking at the next year to get back to maybe see if I can do some musical theater, because now that I'm in your character woman category, you know, there's a lot of really fun stuff I can do.
Nice.
And I would like to do that. Once again, it's just, as you understand yourself, I'm sure, a matter of there just aren't quite enough hours in the day to do everything, you know?
Oh, God, no. Oh, I know 150% of what you're talking about, and I completely understand that. Now, sometimes people who sing are also very blessed in that they're able to compose. And I know that obviously you do a tremendous amount of writing. So that was one of the things that piqued my interest was, have you composed or would you consider composing original music?
Actually, I did some songwriting. I'm slower on composing musically, but I lyric wrote a lot when I decided I needed to be a rock and roll star. That lasted about a year. But in the meantime, I met some great people, and I got to take a songwriting class with a very well-known man named Doc Pomus. He wrote Save the Last Dance for me and a lot of Elvis's songs and stuff. And just met him right here in New York City and, you know, took a class with him for 6 weeks, I guess. And in the course of it, met Tom Waits and Doc Pomus and, was it Stevie Forbert? Yes. These were Doc's friends who he just brought to class. You know, it was like, okay. That's nice, you know.
Oh, my gosh. That's so funny. That is so funny. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say, I think one of the life skills that I had actually came from my father, not just because I have some of his personality, but because he was in the Army. So I'm an Army brat, and we traveled. I mean, we moved a lot. The first move I made, I was 6 weeks old. So, and it went on like that until I was 18. We lived as little as a year in a place or as much as 3 years before we would move. And so I, as a kid, without giving away my age, got to see 20 times more than any kid I went to school with. And I went to Catholic school, too. So, you know, here we have two structures. We got the Catholic school structure and we have the Army structure. And yet my parents really let me have my wildness as long as I, you know, ponied up and did what I was supposed to, when I was supposed to.
Aww.
And I did, you know, because I like having everything. So.
And who doesn't, obviously, right? Okay.
Exactly. And I think that contributed to the writing. There are some people now that are going to faint when I say this, but really the only means of communication, if you didn't live in the same town with someone, was to write them a letter.
She said right. Oh, my God.
No, and use the U.S. postal system.
And not text. Actually pick up a phone. Oh, that's a whole other story.
No
go ahead.
Picking up phones. No, I was a kid. My parents were going to let me make long-distance phone calls. Are you out of your mind? No, that never would have happened. So the way when I would make friends, and I sort of learned that so you have to say goodbye a lot,
right.
if you're moving that much.
Right.
And so the people that I really couldn't totally say goodbye to, I would write to, and they would write back.
Ah.
And, actual correspondence.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
That is so cool because people don't do that, and I love it when people write to me. I don't think they understand that. I just wrote a love letter. I didn't just say this on air. I just wrote a love letter last night, and it was like one of the most beautiful pieces. It was like I just had my radio show for 2 hours. I just had Victor and Richard on. I don't know if you saw that or not, but the networker, Victor.
Here's what's funny, Cindy. I know Richard from a couple decades ago when we both went to the Eugene O'Neill Cabaret Symposium together. That's where we met. Yeah, we were in the same year together. So that's why the Soho International Film Festival was so crazy. It had so many connections to so many different people for a lot of different reasons. Yeah.
Oh, how cool is that? Yeah, so I sat last night and I finished the show up and I said, you know what, I really dig this guy. I'm really frustrated because it's probably one of the most beautiful pieces I've written in a while. It's poetry, and it was just completely heartfelt, and I thought, if this guy doesn't get it, well, typical guy. You write a beautiful love letter, and I'm getting blown off at the moment. So, yeah, it's you and me, Deb. You're like the only date I got all night. That's wonderful, though, because I'm excited about that. I'm not gay or anything, but I'm so loving my date with Deborah right now. I have alcohol on the table, and I have Deborah on the phone, and I'm like, who cares if you don't like my love letter? Because if I get mad enough, I might just do an X's and publish it. So there you go. Thank you. I don't know where that came from.
There you go.
But, yes, the love letter thing is just letters in general is unfortunately, a dying breed, and it's very, very sad to me that people don't, communicate with one another using the written word. The written word is very powerful, and I'm preaching to the choir. I know that, obviously.
Absolutely.
That goes without saying.
I would draw an analogy. I think that texting and phone calls, as compared to letter writing, are like guns compared to knives. Any idiot can shoot a gun. But if you're going to kill someone with a knife, you have to be up close and personal, And letter writing requires that you actually think things through to say exactly what you mean, which doesn't mean perfect, but to think of other words besides, and, well, we're going to call these words now because they kind of are, other than OMG or LOL, you have to think of descriptive words to try to express stuff, and that's the difference. And that's the big difference.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
See, and that's one of the reasons why I like interviewing authors, because I think sometimes an author just has we have such a love and appreciation for the things that come out of our mouths, for the things that we write, and we're so close to it and so connected to it, and I don't know that other people can understand that. I mean, that rush and that excitement, that feeling, even now, every script that I write and everybody I interview, it's always a new adventure to me what I'm going to end up saying at the very end of it. So I don't know, we might get a little crazy. I might ask you questions I didn't think before, but that's okay.
Ooh, yay, random madness.
Just wait. You have no idea. And I know that we think on the same wavelengths, because guess what, kids? She's a Cancer, and I'm a Cancer. She just had a birthday. I just had a birthday. How kick-ass is that? Oops. It is. And Cancers to Cancers, I think, get along very well, actually. I think that part of, and I'm not trying to be hypocritical and or judgmental of any other sign, mind you, but I do think because Cancers feel so much and because they are so emotional and they wear their heart on their sleeve, I know this might sound like a weird question to you, but do you just think part of who you are as a person, even from the zodiac sign per se, makes you a better writer? I think everything has to come from the inside, but I could be wrong.
Well, I think it's a combination because it's not all inner and it's not all environmentally related. I mean, I had good parents,
right?
Who were reasonable folks, even though they were Republicans, and I still did dumb stuff, because I needed to experience things on my own, and I know that often they were trying to help me by saying, don't do this. But you can't live your life by someone else's rules. You have to learn them on your own. And I think the emotional sometimes gets me in trouble and when I'm learning something new. But on the flip side, and having gone through a period in my life when I repressed the emotional, I repressed the creative, I repressed the intellectual, I've now come to value it enough that if people don't value me for those things, I don't spend my time on those people. Because they're not.
Bingo. And
they're exactly not my people.
That's exactly right. And you have to hang with your own tribe.
That's right. And it doesn't matter what treasures they are, because they're going to be tarnished and tainted because they don't treasure me, you know. So, and it's not easy. Right. It's not easy, folks out there in radio blog land, you know. It's not easy to be your own true person. Sometimes it's hard, sometimes you're alone, sometimes you cry, but sometimes you have victories that elevate you to move on to the next thing because you know that, you know, you were true to yourself, and whatever it is, you earned it, you learned it, you know.
Correct. I agree with you.
It happened because of that person, because they're better or more famous or have more than me, and they just brought me along on their coattails. You know.
Sure. Nope. No, I know exactly what you're saying. Now, before we move on and talk about your education and how you got into things, I wanted to ask an interesting dynamic because you and we're very similar. And so this interview, you're going to find out just how much. And I didn't realize how much until I researched you, actually. One of the things that I've noticed that you comment on that I'm sure people would be interested to hear is a lot of times our motivations, inspirations, or some of our first teachers are obviously our parents. And I know that you had mentioned not so long ago, you know, I don't want to call it, I'm not sure what the word to use is as it relates to your mom. The one thing that I wanted to ask about your mom.
Difficult.
Because I know
that's the word, difficult.
I was going to say, quote, now I know the relationship wasn't exactly picture perfect and not everybody has the June and word cleavers. I certainly didn't. I struggle with the same thing myself. But I'm just wondering how you getting a chance to get that more just a somewhat closer relationship and learning more things about her, how that has enriched you as a person and what lessons you took away from that.
Well, this did happen for me in the last 4 to 5 years of her life. My dad died before her, and so there she was, and what are you going to do, ignore your accent? As a matter of fact, I never spoke to her after that because of what was going on. You know, people lose their minds when there's grief and death, and she totally lost hers. And actually, you know, we didn't have a knife fight, but she was provoking me, and I decided, right, you're going to do that? I know your husband died, but my dad died, so, you know. And then there are a lot of words I probably shouldn't say on the radio that came along. And so I just decided, in order to protect myself against her, every time she said a crappy thing to me, I'd just say a crappy thing back to her. And we were both hard-headed women. What's the word? You know, my makeup, where the people that I came from are German and Scots and Irish. So nobody's got a harder head than me. You know, as hard as a rock. And she, you know, had German and Scots and I don't know what else, but I know German and Scots. So we were banging heads, you know. So I was not going to let her treat me that way. My sister and my aunt, who was my dad's remaining sibling, were there. And my sister's method of coping was leave the room and go into her room and close the door. And my auntie would just go, oh no. You know, it's like, no, I'm not playing that. And I felt that I won the contest because one day she said yet another crappy thing, and I said a really good crappy thing back to her, and she, went over her limit. The glass overflowed. We happened to be walking through the kitchen at the time, and she started throwing things at me, which included knives because they were to hand. And my Auntie is having a cow, and I'm laughing because I thought, I won. You broke first, you know. And
oh,
we
my
almost
goodness.
we almost never spoke again. But a friend of a very good friend, older than us, called me up and said, I've heard what had, well, she was Indian with that lovely British accent. So she said, Deb, I've heard what happened with your mother. You must call her immediately. You can't let this go on. You'll regret it so. I said, I hate the woman. She said, it doesn't matter. She's your mother. Call her, you know.
Right.
And so after 4 days I did. And my sister was still there, and she later told me that my mother hung up the phone. And it wasn't a nice phone call. It was terse and it was tense, but it wasn't bad things we were saying. It just wasn't friendly. Okay. And when she hung up the phone, she turned to my sister and said, I thought I would never hear from her again. So that kind of broke the ice. And when I finally, truly, and you'll probably understand this, I always knew it was there, but I always say, oh, no, that's silly, don't say that. When I finally admitted, yes, Mom, you were always right, I never loved you as much as Dad, ever, and never will, I admitted that to myself. And once that happened, I thought, okay, well, do I want to live my entire life knowing I never tried to have a good relationship with my mother? And the answer was no. And so I looked at what I could do that wouldn't compromise who I was, but would open the door. Okay. And, of course, you know, tensions automatically went down at least 50% because I wasn't poking her. And she stopped poking me as much. And in the long run, I was there when she passed away, and she gave me a great gift in that I had to take her to emergency, and they admitted her to the hospital. And once we got through with, you know, all the paperwork and everything, you know, I pulled up the chair to sit by her bed, you know, at least until she fell asleep. And she said, what are you doing? I said, I'm pulling a chair over. Why? I said, because I'm just going to, you know, sit with you till you go to sleep. I'm tired. Go. I'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye. Bye. Go. Get out of here. I'm tired. I need some sleep. Because she knew I would stay, you know, unless she literally threw me out. And she passed away 12 hours later. And that, by her making me leave, eliminated any guilt for the fact that I wasn't by her side when she passed the way I had been with my dad. You know, so that was like a parting gift that was well worth whatever did or didn't work out the way I'd hoped it would in those final years, you know. So I'm actually writing a show about her. I've been thinking and talking about writing a show, and I actually did a second draft yesterday based on my first draft.
Oh, lovely.
And I don't know whether it's going to be one person or not, but it's going to be funny. You know, that's the one thing I thought, you know, I already went through the not funny part, so let me just put it out there and see if people can recognize it and have a laugh.
And I like that.
Yeah.
Very nice. Now I'm going to do the flip side of the fence, of course, and ask a relatively similar question because, of course, I know your father, from what I gather, left a compounded impact on you. And so just tell me something that he taught you or something that stays with you that you utilized during the course of your career that you just keep kind of maybe back in the back of your head or in your heart that makes you a stronger person, that makes you a better person.
Well, as with my mom, there were a lot of things I learned about my dad later on. And because he always accepted me exactly who I was. He may not have liked all of who I was, but he accepted it and didn't try to change me. And that was an interesting gift to have because there's an upside and a downside to that. But what I learned of him later, I actually found a Christmas card. He was away from the family for 1 year. When I was in the 3rd grade, my sister was in the 6th grade, he did a 1-year tour in Korea. And so we stayed behind in Oklahoma, and he went to Korea for a year. Now, the Army had all kind of support systems. I was a kid. I didn't know. I didn't understand the nature of the, husband-wife relationship. I didn't realize how freaked out my mom was. But, we all got through it the way we did. And when I was helping clean out their house, I came across the Christmas card my dad had sent to my mother the year in Korea. And in it he wrote, it's so tough being away from my family. I miss you all so much. But going to Mass and taking communion has made it all easier. I had no idea my dad felt that strongly about his religion. And it stunned me. But when I then looked at how he led his life, he always helped anyone who needed help. He had friends. This was after he retired from the Army, and then he did another job for 10 years and retired from that. But he had two different friends who had to do dialysis 3 times a week. So he would go, and while they were on the dialysis machine, sit with them and play cribbage and play cards and have a laugh, just to make it easier for them. If someone was in the hospital, he went and visited them and took them something. He volunteered for hospice. He volunteered at the pharmacy on post, and that generosity of spirit, because it wasn't like he lost anything by doing all those things. I think he felt it enriched his life. But I want to tell you, he did 10 to 20 times what anyone else I knew did for other people. And it was remarkable. And so that's why I try to, emulate him and do things to help other people as well.
I'm so betting. He's sitting up there on his royal chair, and he's saying, God, I'm so proud of that Deborah. Look at how well she's turned out. Not that I had any doubt, but there you go. Goodness.
Yeah, he was. I was extremely lucky.
Oh, I bet. And you're very fortunate in that regard, obviously. Very. I want to talk about how smart you are, because that always lends itself, because obviously some people are of the, like for instance, I went and I got educated, but not 100%. But of course I see you obviously have a background, 2 different places, University of Pittsburgh, where you studied theater and music, and of course Florida State University for acting. Now, obviously, that's pretty well-rounded, because you've got your acting, your theater, and your music. So my question to you is, because now, of course, you live in New York City, and that's just, as I always call it, the birthplace of the arts, because art lives and breathes there, to tell you the truth. So if you could possibly tell me, at each one of these individual places, both the university and, of course, Florida State, tell me, do you think some people are of the vernacular that you have to go, and you have to go constantly all the time. You have to get a college education. You have to have continuing education thereafter, and that's the key to success, whether it's acting or theater or singing or writing. Or are you more of the belief of, okay, I've gone, I've done my education, now I have all this life experience, and this makes me well-rounded? Which side of the fence would you say that you're on?
Well, I am strongly for education, but I don't think it has to be the college route. That worked well for me, because I'm a smarty pants, and I fully own that now. I am a smarty pants. I was invited to join Mensa, and I joined for a year and said, you people are weird. Got out of there,
Sure.
So I had a lot of book smarts all the time, but I was not very life smart. So for me, going to, university was as much my life learning as it was getting a degree. And I needed that very much. I was severely undertrained. I could do all the social stuff. I could throw a party. I could cook and serve drinks and clean up and talk to anyone on the planet. But, put me in front of a boy I liked, and I just turned to goo and didn't know what to say. And I'm a Catholic girl. Why do everybody wear skirts 6 inches shorter than me? I just didn't really have a clue for a long time. So I don't think you should ever stop learning. I don't think you can ever have learned enough.
Okay.
And as a matter of fact, career-wise, as an actor, I have 3 flippin' degrees, all that involve acting. And I still take acting classes. Because, we're complex beings. And it doesn't matter that I lived my life. I still don't understand it. I still find things that I uncover that are useful. And here's what I discovered. As I was younger, it was learn more, add more, add more, add more. And now that I'm not quite as young and I'm going to classes, it's strip it away, strip it away, strip it away.
Wow.
Have it there, but strip it away and be simple, But do your homework. And that's where the education part comes in. When I work with a woman named Rosalind Coleman Williams. She's an actress. She's a coach. She's also a filmmaker with her husband. And our chemistry works correctly together, And so for me, she's really clicked. And all my background was theater, So my true work in TV and film has only been in the last 5 to 10 years, mostly in the last 5. And it's a different animal. And she's really helped me crack the code on the difference between the two and how I need to perform. So I take my brain and I do all my work and my research and create my background and choose images and substitute people, and I do all that stuff and then put that in my back pocket. Nobody sees it, and then I just am in front of the camera. And that's the strip away part. Yeah.
Right. Gotcha. I like that. Very good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, because I saw that I knew you were a smarty pants, obviously, and a lot of times, like I said, you have individuals that come onto the show, and some of them are self-taught, some of them have only taken a limited amount of classes and such, and sometimes that kind of speaks to how you end up and how you emulate and how your career goes and things like that. Now, I know that one of the things, I want to ask this question just because I'm not a stupid person, really, honestly, truthfully, but I'm like, I saw this on your resume as one of the things you used to do, and I'm like, okay, it's internet radio, so I can do this. I can say, what the F? Okay, I can do that.
Yes.
What is that? So I want you to explain to the folks, because at one time, if you still, I don't even know, you might still do this, actually. You used to operate in a capacity as a comptroller. And forgive the author here that I'm like, what? What is that?
Yeah.
What do they do? So explain to us what you do as a comptroller.
Comptroller, people generally say controller now, controller of a company, and I guess it's the equivalent of the CFO line, which is dealing with all the financials and the money and all the things that go into a company. One of the gifts I inherited from my dad was his math brain. I like math. I like numbers. There are certain numbers I don't like. I can't explain it. It is true. I do not like 8 plus 5. I just don't like that. Don't ask me why. It's not because it's 13. I just don't like it. But, I live with it, and it comes up every time. But, But I'm very good at math. And the really hysterical thing is, here I was the comptroller of this company, and I didn't take so much as a bookkeeping class.
Oh, my God.
Everything that I learned, I was self-taught, or an accounting class or anything.
Wow.
But numbers is a language I speak, and and then I get interested. I get interested in, well, how do you do this? Well, what about that? Oh, that's how you really figure out what labor costs. And so here's the formula. Here's the formula. Then we do this, and then it got into insurances and that a company has to have, and 401k, and we had a lot of young guys working for us, and I used to, once a year, I'd do my stern mommy talk and say, you need to put money away. Don't drink it all away. Put it away. If you put it away now, you will have, and do it between the time you're 20 and 40, you will have more money than me, who only started when I was 40, to put money away.
Oh, my gosh. Okay.
Do it. and I wasn't nice about it. I would really browbeat the ones
I imagine.
Liked,
Oh,
and
my
most of them would
God.
go, "That's a crazy bee there. She's, But the guys that I liked, I would say, "Come on, I know I was being a meanie, but just do it. You will so thank me for this." And even having medical insurance. The company offered medical insurance, and they would have to pay a minor fraction of it. And this one guy who appeared to be a relatively healthy guy said, "Really, just do it." And not a year later, he came back to me. He said, "That was the best thing anyone's ever done for me." I said, "Yeah, I can tell," because he was banging at that time. Oh, my God, I don't know what he had done. But, he had really gotten himself healthy and gone to the gym and could have been Chippendales at that point. He was looking that good, and it wasn't just because he was going to the gym. He started taking care of himself because he had people telling him how to take care of himself. So, but it's something that I fell into. I mean, that job I started as the phone girl who answered the phone and took messages.
Wow. Worked your way up.
And
nice.
never full time. Yeah.
Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah.
Now,
I mean, it was the kind of company that made that possible. So.
Oh, and that's really cool because you don't always find that, obviously, either.
No.
No. I'm going to switch gears on you for just a second because one of the things that I'd like to talk about is I see that you were part of that actors group, the Geese. So I think people might be intrigued to find out what is, first of all, the Geese.
What the hell is the Geese?
That's exactly what I thought, and I'm like, dude, what is that? Who gets involved with an actors group called that? So I would like to know more about the actors group, please, and how you got affiliated with them.
The basics of it is that we started with 8, but it pared down to 6, and we have one supplemental person now. So we're a 6 plus 1. We'll put it that way. It's 5 plus 1 now. Women that I've been meeting with for the past 4 years. When we first started the group, the impetus was that we were all studying with a woman named Dallas Travers, who teaches, it sounds so dry, but she really teaches marketing to actors and how to communicate and build relationships with people in the industry in order to, achieve your goals. And there's goal setting in there and, a lot of stuff. You start small and it gets bigger. But she really, the wonderful thing is, there are a lot of people who teach stuff like that, and it's their side job. No, this is her passion. She's not an actor. She never wants to be an actor, but she loves them and likes helping them. And she's made it into a business. And she went and studied spiritual philosophy as well as, marketing and how things work. And she's just a really wonderful, inspiring woman, and that's how we all met, because we all had an association with her. Now, and when we started, the first time we got together had nothing to do with that. We were getting together because one of our group was going to, we were just going to talk about how to create a one sheet. So it's just a one-page thing that kind of markets you, right? Okay. And a lot of us had an affinity to one another, and we decided to keep meeting. And for 9 months, we met every Friday for 3 to 4 hours. And it sounds crazy. Who can do that in their schedule? But we didn't know that's the way it was going to be. It's just the way it worked out. And it formed a very strong base, foundation for friendship and both professional and personal. And we really started to take sledgehammers to what was standing in our way. And so we don't obviously meet that much anymore because we've all been achieving goals and we don't have time to do that anymore. But we keep in touch. And where the Geese came from was Dallas used to have a page in her blueprint book that talked about geese and the way they work together when they're flying. And the thing about geese is that there's no one hard and fast leader. There is when you see geese flying in the sky and they're flying in a V formation, they have a leader.
Okay.
But when that leader gets tired, he or she drops back, and another goose picks up the banner, as it were, and moves into the lead position and becomes the leader.
Okay.
So it's shared leadership based on strengths and ability and, all those factors that go into, can I be the leader or not? And the other thing about geese is that if one of them falls behind because they're sick or injured, at least one, if not two, other geese drop out of formation and go with it. And they stay with the ill or the injured one until they either recover or die.
Oh, my God, that's so nice.
Right? So that speaks a lot to how to run a lot of things in your life, but also how do you behave towards people. And that image was just so strong for one of our members. She started calling us the geese, and it resonated. I mean, we have the bare bones of a production company called Peaceful Pond Productions, which another member came up with, because that imagery is so, and Dallas doesn't have it in her books anymore, in her blueprint books. It was in for like a year or two, and then she took it out for some reason. Don't know why, but it was so strong and vivid and spoke to what we wanted from one another that's how we became the geese. And at first we just used the name amongst ourselves, but actually after about 2 years, it's if we aren't known by that name, the geese, casting directors or people go, "You're part of that group, aren't you?" So we're known associates, as it were.
Gotcha.
And
I get it. Well, thank you.
We work on continuing to, learn and help one another to this day. It's really boy, talk about something you feel lucky to have.
Oh,
feel very lucky to have
That's
that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay,
now before we start talking about some of the personal parts of you, before we get to the acting and the writing component, oh my God, another fun and I mean amazingly cool fact that I know about Deborah, and you might not know. Hello, she worked on the set of that Oscar-winning movie, Birdman, I should say.
Birdman.
I'm in love with Michael Keaton, for one. I mean, I love Michael Keaton. I mean, in my head, he's like my date some of the time. He just doesn't know it, kind of like Wendy Williams.
He's a remarkable human being. Truly.
Aww, I knew it.
He is. He was friendly. So I worked on the movie for a month. Not every day, but over the course of a month. And I was in the core background group. Now, why would I do background work? Well,
good question.
A, money, and B, because of Alejandro and Michael Keaton. I thought, man, I can learn some stuff from these people.
Oh, big
and I'm
time.
getting paid to hang around and watch them work. So, I said, yeah, okay, fine. We were core background, which means we were still background, but we were inside the circle, Anybody who goes and works on a film for a day or so, you're outside the circle. Man, you're just blurred background cattle, folks. When you're inside the circle and your core background, you are recognized. People know who you are.
Right.
Allowances are given to you that aren't to other background types, and there's respect as long as you don't, pee in the pool. You're okay.
Right. Well, of course.
By being quiet and not in the way, I got to watch that whole process that Alejandro and Chivo were doing to achieve that one continuous take look. And, when I had a moment, I would talk to people about it. How are they doing this? And they would show me stuff, and it would be amazing. And I got to watch him direct. And Michael Keaton, and this was a 29-day shoot. That movie was shot in 29 days. And
you hear that, folks? I didn't know that.
Yeah, 29. So it was the most remarkable experience. And one of the reasons I got that job is because of my money job that I make to get insurance and all that. Is now I work as a theatrical wardrobe dresser.
Oh, my goodness, look at that. How cool.
Yeah,
well, kudos to you, man. That is really exciting. It is. I would have loved that. Well, and like I said, I've loved a lot of his work, but let's face it, I just stand there and stare at him and then put my tongue out and then wonder, is he single? Because I don't know if he is single.
Michael
married,
Keaton?
Single? Do we know?
No, I think he's married. He's married, yeah. He's
thanks, Deborah.
like Jessica Lange and all those other smart people who don't live in the people grinder of Hollywood. They have actual real lives that have nothing to do with TMZ or all of that. And that he was, I can't begin to tell you how generous he was to everyone in terms of just treating them like a human being, like he was a human being. He was really lovely.
And that's refreshing to hear in this industry, because I'll tell you, boy, you get a mixed bag all the time, you know that. So
you do.
Wonderful.
Yeah, you do.
Thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely. And the other thing that was remarkable about him was he was prepared every single day. And not just I know my lines and what scene we were doing, but he brought idea. I mean, it was really a collaboration between the three of them, between Alejandro. Chivo is the nickname of the DP. He actually has some crazy name, but Chivo means goat in Spanish, and that's his nickname. I don't know why, but who cares? But between Chivo and Alejandro and Michael Keaton, they were always working together to achieve what they wanted, and just to make him, puts his pants on one leg at a time as possible. They were doing a shot, and where he ran out of the theater and then had to run along the sidewalk, and it started to rain during one of the takes. And it didn't stop him. They kept shooting. He kept running and doing the thing. And they finished the shot, and he came back, and he said, "That was crazy, wasn't it? That was crazy. Like, it was raining, and I know you didn't, but that one was the best one, wasn't it? Because I did that thing." And Alejandro was like, "Yes, that thing was so funny." And he said, "Well, I can do another one for you." He said, No, I like that thing. No, that one's good. Let's move on, So he still has that joy and excitement of creation and being in the moment, with that, I hesitate to use the word childlike, because that's going to have the wrong connotation in some ways, but that joy at, nailed that, that I admire him so much, I can't begin to tell you.
Me too. Oh, my God, no kidding. Definitely. That's why I had to bring it up. I thought, that's a neat little thing. All right, so I'm going to switch gears. Instead of talking about you as a person, we will talk about your work, and then we'll talk about you as a person. I want to tell folks a couple of neat things that I see that you're doing and I'm really excited about, and you might have information. First of all, I know recently that you had you actually submitted your screenplay to the Meryl Streep Initiative, and that's for writers over 40, which I think is so cool. And she's laughing. I'm like, why is she laughing? Well, why is that funny?
Laughing. And this is why the geese are so flippin' important.
Okay.
So I made a short film about Madalyn Murray O'Hair, who was the woman who in 1963 was majorly responsible for getting the Supreme Court to make prayer in public schools illegal. And she was, and I was a Catholic girl at the time, and the nuns would call her the devil, but she did it for all the right reasons. No matter what your religious ilk, she did it for the right reasons. So I made a short film about her, and I've been obsessed with her. And I want to make a full-length movie. No, there's too much. It could be 2 movies. Okay. So when this Meryl Streep initiative came up, I said, "Did you guys see that announcement?" And they said, "Yeah." And I said, I was thinking that maybe I should write my Madalyn movie now. And they all looked at me and said, "Yes, drop everything else and do it." And I said,
nice.
Okay, well, I think the deadline's August 1st, and this was in May, the very beginning of May. I said, I could do that. You have to understand, I've never written a screenplay.
Okay.
The short film that I made, I adapted from a theater piece I did, a 10-minute theater piece. So, I thought 3-4 months to write a screenplay. I thought I could handle that, And so and they said, drop everything else and do it, and we're holding you to it. Now, if they say they're holding me to it, I'm going to be in deep doo-doo if I don't do it. And they gave me an out, and I said, no, I'm going to do it. So I go, I start writing, and I think, maybe I should just look it up and see if there's anything I should know about this initiative.
Right.
There was one thing I didn't know. The deadline was June 1, not August 1.
Oh my God.
Kind of crucial. But you know what? I got it done. And here's the interesting thing. I was writing it while the Soho International Film Festival was going on. And I went to see Sam. It evidently wasn't in the festival, but it was screened during the festival. And I went to see it because a friend of mine who I'd gotten involved in set decorations and stuff, he worked on Kelsey's movie Enchantments, and this fellow, John Paynes, was the DP on that movie. But he's been a screenwriter for 20 years. So when we went to see Sam, he was sitting near us, and after it was over, it was the last night of the film festival, I think. And Kelsey wanted to go to the closing night party, and I was trying to convince my friend Frank to go, hoping he'd get some leads for some more work. And they said, "You going to go?" I said, "No, it's late. I got to go home. I got the screenplay I'm writing. Got to go."
Oh, sure.
And John, who I had actually I did a little comedy short that's evidently going up on Funny or Die in a week or so with another gal.
Okay.
And John was the DP on that, but I didn't really get to work with him directly because my part in it was a doctor who was being FaceTimed to answer a question. So I was in the other room Skyping into the phone, and he was shooting the phone in the other room. So I didn't get to really work with him. But he said, "Yeah, I got to go, too. I got a long way to travel. I live far away." And I said, "Oh, where?" And he said, 181st Street. I said, "Oh, shut up. I live in that neighborhood." So I got to spend an hour and 15 minutes on the train with him and talk screenwriting. And that kind of bolstered my courage, and we talked about a variety of things that we had seen in the movie Sam, and I didn't, say, "Hey, help me with my screenplay," but I asked him different questions and got a lot of helpful information, and I think that also assisted me in getting it done. And I got my application and the screenplay in 4 hours before the deadline.
Oh, cool. That is
and that's my
awesome.
story.
And she's sticking to it, people.
I am.
Okay,
speaking
of these writing projects, so you got 3 of the things here that are on the docket. I know that you were working on a stage piece about mothers, actually, which I thought was intriguing. Where are we at with that?
I did a second draft yesterday, almost a complete second draft. So what month is it? So I think it will go up somewhere
July,
next year. Yeah, I think by next July I'll have it either ready to be mounted somewhere or mounted. I don't know if I want to do the Fringe. I'm hearing now that they ask for lots of rights, but it will be up because I've got to do this now. Yeah.
Of course, I understand.
Yeah.
And then we have, of course, the play. I don't know much about the play except it's non-traditional, which doesn't tell me much, but what's the status of the play? I can't
really talk about that a lot.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
No, I can tell you some things around it. It's what some people would perceive of as a women's issue, but it really involves men as well. And I can't really talk about it because I'm collaborating on it, and it's at a level much higher than I'm at. In terms of the influence and the people involved. So that, too, would be nice if that would get done for next year. I already have an opening. We've been talking a lot about it. They're letting me be the writer, and then they're going to weigh in on it. But there's some weight behind the people I'm involved with, so that's really exciting, but I can't talk about it.
That's okay. We'll talk about something else. Like, for instance, Yes and. The web series. Let's talk about that. What can you tell me about Yes and? Let's talk about the web series because, Donna Ross is about to start doing a little web series. She's got an idea in her head. I'm pushing at her right now. She's going to be doing this little food web series. So I'm going to suck some information from Deborah, and here we go. So tell me about the web series Yes and.
I have a radio show that I've been doing, I guess it's getting up close to 20 years now. It started because I did it at the Jewish Guild for the Blind, but they shut down their radio station about 5 or 6 years ago, and the people who were running it took over the signal and continued it because it's radio for the blind. It's reading all kind of print materials for them. But my show is from the kitchen. So it's all about food.
Oh,
so
my God, this is totally perfect. You guys have to talk about that because that's totally right up her alley. But that's not telling us about Yes And. People want to know about Yes And. Tell them.
Yes And is a web series. We have the red carpet this Sunday, as a matter of fact, that was created by a bunch of people who know each other from doing improv, which is not me. But Jenny Ann Hochberg, who is one of the two creators, knows me from something that I do so I can get free seminars with casting directors and stuff like that. And she actually wrote this part for me. And I'm in 2 episodes. God. Yeah, I know. Isn't that cool? Yeah, so Jenny said, I wrote this for you, and I wanted you to be a big bitch. And the director took another way, and it's still funny. So I play a Jewish grandmother.
Oh my God, I can't even picture this. I'm like totally trying to picture you as a Jew anything. I'm like, really? She's got to be acting quite well in this one. No,
it's very
darling,
popular
but you know what I'm saying?
Also, I know, but there's also a pilot that I shot. Oh gosh, was it last summer? Yes, I shot a pilot, sort of a pilot on spec, and I play a Jewish landlady in that. So it's a trend.
Oh my God.
I don't know how that happens.
Maybe you have an inner Jew that you're just getting in contact with. Light some incense. Get in with the inner Jew.
I have an inner black woman. Yeah.
Ooh, we like this one. All right.
Oh, yeah.
Then that moves us on to the short. I want to talk about the shorts. Pretty Things. Tell me how you got incorporated with that.
Pretty Things was an NYU film. I don't know. I probably saw it on Actors Access and submitted myself for it. Nice young man, and shot it in one day, and that was that. And
I have a question about that.
Sure.
An interesting question. What I find interesting is, and you know this yourself because obviously Soho is a great example of it, along with most of the independent filmmaking and film festivals and things like that. The new trend is obvious that, the big budget studio films, are the big thing, and that's a Hollywood thing and such. But there's such a trend now that so many people, so many younger, or even some of the more seasoned directors like John Gallagher, for instance, are going out and they're making their independent films. So my question to you is this. For an up-and-coming actor, let's say somebody that's listening to our show right now, somebody that may not have the education and the experience that you have and such, would you be more inclined to say to them, because of the day and age we live in right now, maybe start out with a new-coming director, with an independent film, with a very small budget, get your feet wet? Okay.
Absolutely.
And
you
why
want to make your mistakes when there's not a lot of money involved.
Right.
And you also want to get in on the ground floor with new directors and writers and stuff. And what better way to do it than do something for no money, for the love of it, and they'll remember you.
Right.
As long as you don't screw up or do something bad or steal from them, they're going to say, that person, they were there for me. I want that kind of support on my next film. Or, that person made me think of something new. I like collaborating with them as artists.
Right.
And the other thing is there is a big trend, and actually there was a short at Soho that was doing exactly this, that a short gets made very well, and that's used as a pitch for the feature. Now, there was, I don't know if you saw it, what the heck was it called? Chandra Wilson was in it. I just saw that Soho thing catalog. It was Chandra Wilson. Oh, wait, here, I have it right here. Hold on.
Oh, good.
It was
a
short
moment,
film.
Please.
Guys in California made it. And it was about missing. It was, the theme of it was about how the police do not pursue missing children, if they're black, with the same vigor shall we say,
okay.
as missing white children. And that's what the film was about. Wait a minute. Here. It was in that group. What the heck was it called? It's making me crazy. But Chandra Wilson,
sure, she gets
who
me excited.
has been in Grey's Anatomy forever, is in it.
Ooh,
it's a one-word thing. And I actually, because I'm a brassy broad, went up and met the two guys who were there for the filming and talked with them and have started a email relationship with them because these guys are going someplace. And I wouldn't mind going along with them. So I got their cards. I gave them mine. I've got to pop them an email. And, I'm looking through this as we're talking, and I'm not seeing it yet. It was on the Day of Shorts when Sam Garland's Ella at the Library played.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you saw that set of shorts.
I didn't, and I wanted to because I love Sam Garland.
She's a doll, and she made a wonderful, wonderful film.
Right?
So at any rate, the Muted, that's the name of it. MUTED, Muted. And they're gonna make a feature of that. The description is the Gladwells struggled to get the support of the media and law enforcement when their teenage daughter disappears. And the struggle is because she's a black girl, because then when a white girl goes missing, they go full guns.
Oh, my God.
In the way they don't for the black girl who turns up dead, So, and it's wonderfully done. It's not like you're bad, you're wrong, you bad whiteys or anything like that.
Right.
But it's all you have to do is turn on the news and see how the racial aspect of police enforcement and all police matters is just, so skewed. Or as I believe it to be, it's not that it's becoming more skewed, it's just that it's all becoming very public now. We have the internet and we've got the camcorders in the cars and we've got people with cell phones, and what before wasn't accessible is now. And what before went unseen is now seen because of all these recording devices. So that's just my personal opinion about it. So absolutely. Short films, just and find out who you like. And while you're on that set, watch and listen and learn what works, what doesn't work, what took up so much time because they didn't do their prep before, what went well because they did do their prep before. What were they too overambitious? Did they have it just right? Was it a calm set? Did someone make it a frenetic set? All those, and here's the truth. And I never liked it when I was younger, but I know it is absolutely the truth. Talent is 10% of the game. 10%. Maybe 15 on a good day. But there's a lot more that goes into anything that is artistic, be it a stage piece or, a recording or an opera or an album or a film, than just the talent. And it's when those things come together, like in Birdman, and everybody's on board, that it just goes boom,
I like that. Very well done.
Yeah.
Okay, now we'll flip over to the personal side of things, because I'm a firm believer in everybody always wants to believe that you're an actor and you're this and you're this, but guess what? You're actually a person. Deborah's a person who has a real life outside of her professional career. So I'm going to read off to you, and to the listening audience, oh, my God, we have all these things in common. That's what I was talking about. Now, first of all, I mentioned to you we both had a birthday in July, so obviously we're both Cancers. Second of all, listen to this, folks. From a personal side of things, musically speaking, everyone on this list absolutely loves, but I have one question about this. So she likes Mama Cass, Emmylou Harris, Alanis Morissette, Three Dog Night. One of the things I find so funny is that you have listed on here, and you mentioned that you met him, which is Tom Waits, and it's so funny. I never knew who he was. A dear friend of mine sent me his picture and his video because there's a local musician in Milwaukee, looks like him, dresses like him, sounds just like him. I mean, it's scary. I was like, oh, my God. And I happened to fall for the idiot, but it was shocking to me. And so I'm like, oh, my God, there's this really big-time musician that looks just like E-Rock, who happens to be the guy that I'm talking about. And so I was curious to what is he like? Because I've seen interviews, I've seen the way he performs. What is he really like face-to-face?
Here's the thing. I can't tell you for certain.
Okay.
Because based on things that he's interested in or was interested in, and when he was coming up, I'm going to say it that way because I don't think it's just an age thing. You know, he got real fascinated with the barfly, trailer living, trash on the, outlier kind of life, and loves those hookers and drunk guys and. He even, as far as I understand, if I'm remembering correctly, owned a flop house, and made it highly accessible to people with no money.
Oh, my God.
He loves those people, and those are the subjects of a lot of his songs,
Okay.
One of his albums is Heart Attack and Vine, At the Corner of Heart Attack and Vine. He has a sensibility that is outside the everyday sensibility.
I
See, now you've made me want to go and read this biography I have of him. And yet, do you remember the song that Bette Midler recorded called Old People? Do you ever know that song? Tom Waits wrote that song.
Vaguely.
And the Eagles recorded a song called Old 55. That was Tom Waits' song.
My God.
He has these crazy... he's got a song called Jockey Full of Bourbon, he's got these crazy songs.
I knew it.
About these outliers,
so cool.
Yet his heart is pure, when he talks about things. There's a song called Time, and the lyric is, it's time, time, time that we loved. It's time, You can't write a lyric like that if you're a poser, and carry it off.
Of course not. I agree with you. Oh, cool.
So when I say I'm not sure exactly what is him and what's real, I know that if you follow his music, in his younger days, in his first albums, his voice doesn't sound like he ate rusty razor blades for breakfast.
Oh, I agree. I know.
But now it's like this, And he's got that
really
crazy-ass hair that stands up, 3-4 inches off his head. He's all lanky and, limbs. But he was very, very, I was presenting a song the night he came to class, and he was very kind. He didn't say what he didn't like. He said what he did like.
I like that. I do. I definitely do. See, so thank you for sharing that. That's awesome. Now, on the film side, this is cool, too. You're an Iron Man fan. I totally am down with Iron Man, probably because he's hot, but I'm still down with Iron Man. Get this, folks. Not only does she like The Hobbit, but she met Gollum. What was that like? No, wait, not Gollum, Gandalf. Where did Gollum? Gandalf.
Oh,
she met Gandalf.
Ian McKellen. Yes.
Ding, ding.
Well, I didn't get to talk to him. He's promoting. He and Laura Linney are out doing press junkets to support the opening of Mr. Holmes. And it just happened. I had these auditions way downtown, and then I happened to see on Facebook. This is why we can't totally spit at Mark Zuckerberg. I saw a little advert saying, "Come meet Ian McKellen," at the Soho Apple store, and I immediately got my reservation and went, and I was like 5 feet away from him, and there were all these geeks around. I probably was one of the older people there, but they were the comic geeks and the Hobbit geeks and the Lord of the Ring geeks and the it was a geek fest is what it was. But he was so
engaging
in that British manner, very gentlemanly, yet very open and so generous. People kept asking questions about acting and film and theater, the difference between film and stage and all that. And he would often turn to her, and she'd say something, and he just looked at her after she said a few things and said, "Well, Laura, you must write a book on acting. I couldn't have said it any better than you." It's like, and they would just, squeeze hands and go on. It was just so lovely to see that camaraderie.
Very
but
nice.
He was very generous and lovely and funny and honest. The last question that got asked. You can go to. They actually do podcasts of these things. I don't know if you have to pay money for them, but the last question that got asked was a real, fangirl, and she, tried to get up on the stage and asked a convoluted 16 different thing kind of question. And rather than looking at her like she was a nutcase, which one could have categorized her or stereotyped her as, he stopped. He said, "Well, first, there are several questions there. Let me try to address them one at a time." And did in the most serious, thoughtful way. And I just thought that was so generous of him. He really didn't have to do that. But I believe it's part of his makeup,
Oh, I agree with you, definitely.
So, yeah,
now,
he was great.
The other thing, our other similarity, not only do we both like horror hotties, and in fact, I'm on Kelsey like white on rice, both her and Jen. I almost got them saying yes to keep doing them horror hotties, and we like our horror movies.
Yes.
And what's funny, I was just thinking about this when I was looking at my notes today. I'm like, damn it, why does she never read my post where I say I'm sitting in the dark by myself watching horror movies, getting myself freaked out? I don't know why I do it to myself. It's like I'm psychotic or something. I'm like, I sit and I watch these things. But I also see you love your American Horror Story. So are we liking direction this last year? We're not liking.
I gotta say that the Freak Show got too much for me. Not too much in like I couldn't handle it, but it just was so unrelenting.
I would agree.
And so I actually didn't finish the season. I actually cut my teeth on horror because as a kid, another way my mom could get me out of the house, was on the Army base when I was in the first and the second grade. And, oh, my God, she let me do this. I was in the first and the second grade, and the one of the movie theaters on Post was literally like within 2 blocks. I could see it from where we lived. And so she'd give me a quarter, and it would be 15 cents for the movies and 10 cents for popcorn. And, ladies and gentlemen, that's because it was an Army base and they weren't making profit.
Of course.
And I would go to I was totally geeked out and in love with the Lone Ranger. But also I began to see all the classic horror movies of the 30s, Lon Chaney Jr., Vincent Price, Peter Cushing, all those guys. As a matter of fact, and I will say this virulently to this day, Andrew Lloyd Webber I can never totally get behind because he absolutely destroyed the story of Phantom of the Opera. It is one of my favorite stories, and he wrecked it. He starts that flippin' musical essentially after you get over the auction, 2/3 of the way through the story, and it just makes me mad every time I think of it. So,
oh my goodness.
So I'm loving that. And did you see the short Cat's Cradle at Soho?
No, I did not.
Okay, well that was another one that I went to because one of my geese built a relationship with that director. His name is David Spaltro. And, she loved this film that he did called Things I Don't Understand. And so she found out where he was. She got to meet him. She got into a writing group he was a part of as an actor. And subsequently, he was doing a movie, and he cast her in it, 4 female leads, horror movie called In the Dark. So you look for that. It's going to be hitting the festival
I will
soon.
Definitely do that.
Right. And
okay.
But he had a movie at Soho, and so and I follow him, and he's Batman obsessed, so I make little Batman comments all the time. And,
oh, cool.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Now we only
I don't know.
We only have 3 more things to do because our time is almost up. Can you believe that? Doesn't it seem like we just started? And it's been almost an hour and a half. Isn't that wild? But you know what? We did our job. We talked about your personal life. We talked about your acting experience. We talked about your writing. We talked about singing. We talked about everything, basically. So there's only three things that I have left to do. And then I might actually be able to, go cry about how I have no love life and no friends. Oh, sorry. Feeling a little bad today. Okay, I'm going to read this off.
Love yourself first, Cindy. Love yourself first, and the rest will follow.
Okay, I'm working on that.
Okay, good.
So
that's all I ask.
I want to remind, number one, I'm going to read these off. There's 3 different ways people can find you. You have both your personal page and then, of course, the Deborah Unger actor page. You are on Twitter, which is at Deborah Unger, and that's the number 1 thereafter. You also have an IMDb profile. Any other place where people can find you, anywhere?
New York.
Okay. Well,
that's the best way to go.
No kidding. I was there.
If you want to offer me work, I'm with Prestige Management Group, Chris Silveri. You can always call him.
Okay. All right.
But I think that's enough. I don't need to be nationwide. Oh, and I don't want to forget.
I forgot one little tiny thing here, which is not a tiny thing at all, but I wanted to just mention that you happen to be part of the ensemble that was both awarded and nominated for Outstanding Lead Actress in a Lead Play for His Father's Son for the Midtown International Theater Festival.
Yeah, that came out of an acting class that I was in, and that was really cool. That was a 3-person short play, and the play was nominated, and I was nominated, and we didn't win. And then 2 years later, which would be last summer, I got involved through Catherine, one of my geese, in a new play called The Bauer Sisters, and it was submitted to and put into the Midtown International Theater Festival last year, not this summer, so that would be 2014, a full-length play, brand new play, and it was pretty epic for me because I had the lead and was on stage 95% of the time. And we got 10 nominations for that play, and we won 4 awards, and I was nominated again for Outstanding Lead. Now, I didn't win for Outstanding Lead Actress, but I'm very proud of the fact that we won for Outstanding Ensemble.
Right. That's
and
right.
Outstanding Production of a Play. So those were, both of them happened at Midtown, so,
Exactly.
So, yeah.
I don't want to forget to give that prop up.
Yeah. So that was, those have been excellent experiences. And with new plays, I really love doing new work. Yeah.
Oh, who doesn't? Exactly. It's a new adventure and a new experience. Now, the only other thing that we have left to do is you get to be quiet. The last thing that I always do on my show is I give my impressions. I get to tell you what I think of you, and I get to tell the listening audience. And the reason that I do that is a twofold. First of all, of course, I have my own impressions of you, and I like to pass those on to the listening audience. Now that they know the professional side of you, I want them to know that you as a person and why you should be embraced, and hopefully when they've listened to this show, they'll like you as much as I do. So these are my impressions of Deborah Unger. Now, luckily and fortunately for me, when I was in New York City, I had the opportunity, as we mentioned earlier on in the interview, to meet face-to-face. As I said, one of the things that gravitates me personally to another human being, whether it's an actor, writer, producer, singer, etc., is how engaging and how enchanting they come across. She has an absolutely wonderful first impression face, is what I call it, which means you can walk up to a person and you can tell within the first 2 minutes whether you're going to connect with this person on any kind of a level whatsoever. She was warm. She was welcoming. She was very, very giving of her time and her attention. That gravitated to me right from the start. The fact that she's paid any kind of attention to someone that's a virtual stranger to her that actually has reached out and related to myself and others within the course of her page is so generous and so gratifying to me. It kind of just renews my faith in people as a whole. I have been privileged to be able to research her, speak to other people about her, and what I can tell you is the people around her, as well as my impressions, match, which is she is an immensely kind individual, kind in spirit, kind in heart, kind when it comes to her words and her writing. Everything that she writes is very, very strong, very tight, very structured, and very well done. The fact that you work repeatedly and I don't want to say at the age you are, because the reason I'm saying this is because you're not 20 years old anymore. You haven't been doing this for 10 years. And the fact that you take chance after chance after chance to chase after your dream, to take your passion and make it a passion to someone else, to be a role model for another person in this world, for me, is just makes my heart elate. It makes me jump, and I get excited at the possibility to be able to see one of your works or two of your works or many of your works. I think on a personal level, not only do we have a whole lot in common, but I think one of the nicest parts about knowing that I get to come to New York on occasion is that I'll get to be in your presence again. I'll get to learn more about you as a person. I get to see you as an actor, and moreover, I get to be part of your world. And I don't think you realize how tremendously humbled I am that I get to do that. I truly feel it's a privilege. I do. Every time, every moment, everything, every thought, everything that you say, I take it to heart, and I take you very seriously. And I am very, very, very appreciative that you came here today. I just can't thank you enough.
Oh, thank you, Cindy. That's kind of a little overwhelming, but I would say my dad would be proud. You know?
Exactly. You should be proud, woman. All of those things are true.
I will also credit that to the people I hang out with now.
Nice.
You know, as we've been saying, there's just not enough time for all the things that I want to do, see, learn, people I want to meet, and all that. And so I've begun to started a long time ago, weeding out the people who my friends and I lovingly call the piranha people. The ones who will eat you and spit out the bones. Don't need them. You know about them. Learned enough. Don't need that learning anymore. You know. So
I'm trying.
I'm enabled to be a good person, as I would say, by the people around me, and I aspire to what they do and to be as kind and loving as they are. And
I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
Definitely. I'm a mirror of the people around me, and I say that all the time, and I mean that 150%, and now I'm just starting to become a better person, so hopefully we'll see. The more come into my fold that I like, and I keep them, and all that good stuff. So the next time you're sitting there and watching a horror movie, you better make sure that you text me and be like, are you watching this horror movie? And then you can scare the hell out of me, even from New York City, because it doesn't take a whole lot, I'm telling you. I'm like a big Halloween Michael Myers, that you're in the dark sort of thing. You suck. Knock it off. All right, my lady. I have to wrap this up, so much, and I have to call Donna Ross. Oh, not a problem at all, darling. I hope to talk to you soon. You have a great weekend, and thank you again.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
All right. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Bye-bye.
Tell me that was not an amazing interview, right? I know how to pick them, I'm telling you. As I mentioned earlier on the other show, obviously, stay tuned next week in terms of what days, what times we're going to be having interviews, because I still have to squeeze in Mr. Steve Stanulus, producer, director, actor, like 50,000 things under the sun. Want to remind everybody again, Deborah Unger, and it's spelled Unger. She has a personal page and an actor page, a Twitter handle at Deborah Unger 1, that's the number 1, and of course check out her IMDb profile, and certainly also watch my personal page, because I will be posting up as I get wind and word from her as far as her web series and her plays, etc. I'll be sure to keep everyone in the loop. So once again, thank you so much to everybody who has listened in to my 4 shows this week. Thank you so much for the love and the hugs and support. Say a big prayer this weekend. We have my big birthday weekend. I should say my big birthday party on Sunday. So if any of you are listening that are local, you're more than invited. Cross your fingers and say your prayers that hopefully that special someone that I know will be able to work things out. So we'll see. All right, guys. Thanks again, and we'll talk to you next week.
What you doing?
Ran out of space on my phone, so I'm deleting some stuff. By singing dog. By goal.
I pronounce you.
By wedding ceremony.
Stop. At Metro PCS, you get 2 free phones with twice as much memory.
Really?
Don't say bye to your memories. Switch to Metro PCS and get 2 free LG K20 Plus phones with 32 gigs when you switch 2 lines. Metro PCS. Wireless. Figured out. Coverage not available in some areas. Sales tax not included in phone price. Excludes numbers on the T-Mobile network. See store for details and terms and conditions.
What you doing?
Ran out of space on my phone, so I'm deleting some stuff. By singing dog. By goal.
I pronounce you.
Bye, wedding ceremony.
Stop. At Metro PCS, you get 2 free phones with twice as much memory.
Really?
Don't say bye to your memories. Switch to Metro PCS and get 2 free LG K20 Plus phones with 32 gigs when you switch 2 lines. Metro PCS. Wireless. Figured out. Coverage not available in some areas. Sales tax not included in phone price. Excludes numbers on the T-Mobile network. See store for details and terms and conditions.